Hi, today we're going to do a demonstration and a quick startup of the Visual Basic. Visual Basic is used for a lot of the Office products. It is a wonderful tool. And here I have a basic file with some simple items in it to get you started. So usually people have, let's work with Excel, right? You can do it with Word as well. This is not the topic here, but it gets you started on the environment. The environment is the same that we're going to talk about, this initial startup right here. So let's create a new Excel worksheet called My Excel. And I'm working on the OneDrive, and that's fine. This is just a small file. I'm not creating a lot of files. You can see the status is working through the syncing. You can always keep on the device, but a lot of times you want to keep things on the cloud and minimize your amount of files on the OneDrive. I'm going to go ahead and open this. This is a brand new fresh Excel sheet. Now, to work with Visual Basic, the reason that we're working with it is because it allows you to manipulate the data or create data. So uh, programmatically, which means automatically. You don't have to do all your hand strokes and the keystrokes. You can color your cells, do a lot of things automatically. Now, the first thing you want to do is to customize the ribbon, right? And that will lead you to these options. You just scroll down to customize, and then on the right hand side, in here, you might have to do some little bit of searching. I'm sorry. So you come to customize. In here, you do a little bit of searching. You look for the all tabs or popular commands. I forgot which one it's exactly in, but you find the developer and you say add. So now you're adding to what you see on the screen, the tab, right? So you make sure it's checked and then you say okay, and then you'll have this tab over here. Now there's a lot of features, but we're gonna stick to the basics to get you started. We want to use this one over here. This one brings up things that already exist, macros. People call them macros, but they are programs. Visual Basic is a language. So when we click on here, it opens up an editor for the programming language. And on the left-hand side, it's showing you that you have a project, which is your workbook. And you have objects in there. You have a sheet. You have the whole workbook. So if I were to create a program here, I'm going to double click it and start writing my program. Then it's automatically the object that it's acting on is the workbook. Same thing with the sheets. Those are ways that you can ensure that you have the object of the sheet readily available without having to call it or give it a name. So we're going to go ahead and load up. I like to work with files, which become modules, but I already have the file. I can insert a module, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But right now, we're going to open up the demonstration file, and we're going to see how simple it is. It created another tab. So this is your workbooks. These are your modules. So if I click over here and I double click, I see that this is my example, right? Um, so I'm going to go ahead and open up a little bit space. So we're going to organize our desktop. The way I'm doing that is bringing it, clicking the next one. So now we have them side by side, and then do that over here. You get to that menu by clicking on the backspace and dragging up, and you have a couple of options for window management, right? So um, the simplest, we're going to go top down on this one. Do you see how there's a sub and then the name of the sub? So this is a routine, and we're going to use the message box functions. So a lot of these are found online. And when your mouse and you click, you see the little cursor right over here. Hold on, give me a second. There you go. So we see the little cursor over here. When I click play right here, it's only doing what my cursor was on. So there's a lot of pitfalls. So it's playing that little demo over here, and I click on OK. It brings up a message box, right? That's a pit. That's one thing that you have to watch it. All my subs, sometimes your mouse might be on one, but you want to activate another sub. And that's you just have to watch it. It won't work or something. It'll give you a message, right? Um, so you have your list, your easy list of subs coming down over here on your operations. You can click on it and it'll go to it. Now for cell operations, so it's grabbing the, it's setting a range. You see these values, A1s, you're used to them, A1, B1, B2, C2. And it's putting the value of it as the name, a quote name. You can do that with strings, with integers, and then you can actually get, this is how you get from a cell. So you can write to a cell and get from a cell. And then click over here. It brings up the message over here. So it ran through the whole thing, did something in Excel, and then gave you back some information, right? So that's wonderful. So now let's go through some rows over here. And a lot of times you want to know how long your data is. So it's going to go through the amount of rows and check for, it's looking for the end of all the rows, right? The last row is all my cells, to count the rows and go up a little bit, right? To you actually have a value. This is a function over here, the XLOUT function. It's looking for something. And so what we're doing is we're writing over here. And let me do that one more time. We are getting the last value and then going through all of them to the last row, from 2 to the last row, and then putting the debug statement, which comes out down here. This is how you write out and check your code sporadically, and it gives you the value, right? So in other words, it printed the last cell, John, over here. You can have breakpoints, stop the breakpoint, click play, and it'll stop before anything, and then you click play again, it'll continue, and it'll write John. Okay, let's go to the next one. Now, these, it's going to act on, it's going to look through again. Let's say, for example, you have some cells that are where you have values in A1, right? My score, let's see, A1, let's actually change this a little bit. Let's go to a new sheet. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is, let's see, give me a second. When this executes, it's assuming if there's no worksheet definition, then it'll act on the active sheet, right? So say I have some values over here and I'm doing some grades and I want to do 90, 80, 70, 60, or if I'm a teacher, right? And I want to assign a letter grade to all of those. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my conditional example, and it's saying it's checking the value in A1, and it's checking to see what score you got, and then assigning a value to B1, right? This is very simple, so it's going to do only one, right? So obviously over here on the left, B1 is A. And what you can do is you can make a loop to the last row and then go through all the range values, right? Worksheet operations. Now, if you want to add a new sheet called new sheet, we're down over here. So let's think about what this is doing, because just to make sure, add a new sheet and then go back to sheet 1. Okay, fine. This is important. So we're going to add a sheet, but then go back to the sheet 1. So we're going to see a sheet come in over here and then go back to sheet 1. You see? and then it counts the number of total sheets, and that's how you manipulate the sheets. So fine, I threw in a new sheet, but I still want to activate another one. So I can act upon it, or I can see it, or I can view it. You can do your calculations on one sheet and then come back and show your graphs on another sheet. Now, sometimes you want to read files, right? So you want to, the file path is a string. The application has this function called file dialog, and it has something that lets it know what you're trying to do, whether it's a file or directory. And you set titles. This with operation means that everything with a dot is working with this program, right? This line over here. So you're adding into the object model this application file dialog. You're also setting the title for it, any kind of filters on the files that you're looking for, and then um, printing out what file was chosen. So let's play that one. It's going to bring up a file dialog, and a lot of times this happens is that there's a default directory that it starts up in. You can also select a specific directory, but that becomes an issue of hard coding. So I will go ahead and select our book 2. This has nothing to do with the file that we're acting on, but it just gives you the ability to select another file, right? And here's the directory of the file. I'm sorry, I'm scrolling down. For the arrays example, this is how you dimension arrays, 1 to 3. The starting point for arrays is important. It could be at 0. It could be at some number. A lot of times people use variants instead of strings so they can redimension the arrays and make them bigger. So here we have array 1, 2, 3. And then, so now we're setting a counter going from 1 to 3 and then printing the array value over here. So let's go ahead and we're printing it to the debug screen. Oh, one thing on the debug screen is that wherever your cursor is at, then it'll print. So sometimes my cursor is here, it'll start printing over here, but that's not what I want. So we go ahead and clear it and then print it. So now we have apple, banana, cherry. Now let's go to error handling. This is how you handle your errors. BBA uses these, I forgot what they're called, just places in the code and that you have a name to it that you can activate. So you can actually go move in and about your code. This is a little bit of an old style, but it still works for some people and for simple programming, and that's fine. So we're gonna go to, if there's a, what this is doing is coming in and it's saying, okay, I want to try to catch my errors, right? So now I'm trying to divide by 0 and then just leave the sub, right? This doesn't say that the sub is ending. It just says at this point we exit the sub. The sub ends over here. There's still a little bit more, which means that if everything is okay, this will never be executed. And so then since there's an error, we already set the line that the error is being handled, comes over here, and then there you go. So yeah, there's my error, division by 0. There's the error description, and we're flagging it as critical, which means everything stops, and we have this little X button that says, oh no. Great, thank you. So coming back over here, that's the end of the simple demonstration. A lot of stuff you can find online. This is not an all-inclusive demonstration, but I want to talk about what we just opened, right? So if I want to save this file save. Let's talk about um, save this file. It's telling me that this file is not a macro file. This extension of this file is XLSX, right? It's not allowed. If you want to save the programs inside, see how we're inside over here? Inside the Excel, you need to change the extension and save it as a macro enabled workbook. Where the future of this is, I don't know, but I'm gonna just say save for now. This it becomes a little bit confusing. Watch this. If I save here, that does not mean that this is saved. Okay, and we're going to talk through this. So save. Okay, that just saved over here. If I want to make a change in my program over here, uh, this will not capture because I am an Excel XLSX extension, right? Um, so now the way you can get around this, saving this over here, is to just file, save as macro enabled workbook. Okay. Now this creates two files. And over here, we see where the confusion is at. Okay. Now I have three files with this system. So there is a confusion with the this style of macros, okay, and overcoming that is not part of this discussion. Later on, we will discuss that. We're just getting to the demo. I'm getting you started on this, okay. So now you have two options, right? Because now we have data everywhere. You don't know what you changed, and then which because this one also has the Excel information in it, okay. So you can stay with XLSM, but that means when you give this file to someone, they have to wonder about what code is in there. Great. Oh no, okay. I don't want it. It doesn't go through Outlook or anything like that. So there's always this breakdown when you're trying to do something with either permissions or sharing or distributing programs, right? So let's go back to the originals, okay? And that's fine. People might want to do that. I'm going to go back to the original one. Again, overcoming these things is what this is all about in forming the digital architecture. Let's see, I think it opened up as the Excel M. It automatically changed over here. Okay, so I'm gonna close this and go back to, so I'm gonna delete this. That's one way. Remember that method one, stay with XLSM, delete the originals. That's fine. Now we're gonna go back to the originals, bring it in here. See if my drag works. Okay. Now what we see again, and it's the difficulty, is that fine, we have this. When I did this, my programming development environment took out the module. Okay, like I said, it's not saved, right? But I didn't make any changes. So another method is, okay, let's go ahead and look at this right here, is to do this. Now, that's fine. You set up some system that operates on data. A new spreadsheet comes in that's an XLSX, right? You import your file, you act on it, and then you close this and save the file, and everything is fine. But if you make changes, for example, like this, then you want to save, right? Look at what's going to happen here. There's a difference, right? If I save this, it's going to prompt me again if it's trying to save in the macro in over here. Now, what you want to do is export the file, click on your file, and then you replace it. Now there's a pitfall in this because you have a list of basic files. You don't want to overwrite them. It's very tricky, one over the other, right? And again, later on we'll discuss in other videos, probably 5, we'll discuss how you can form something that's a little more foolproof. So now this file is saved. I can remove the module, export. No, because I already exported it, right? I can close everything, come back in, put it to the right over here, and bring in the module. And there, see, I have it saved over here. Okay. So now you can act out on multiple sheets that come in. You can give back the sheet already processed. No one has a problem because it's still an XLSX. And that's how you get work on the sheets. Okay. Um, it's a minor process, but whatever process works for you is the best one. But again, you have to think about the fact that you're giving sheets to someone or you're tossing data left and right, and nobody wants to open, or some people don't want to open. They're a little bit skeptic. You have to look at your knowledge pool that you have, that people might not know about macros, might not know who made it, right? And the signing and the understanding of that is a different story. But this hopefully this gets you started. So now let's talk about the macro security. I can run this macro because I have a macro security. Now what this is saying um, is, so there's several settings, right? That of security. Now you don't have to copy all of this. Um, so I'm saying disable macros with notification. So now that's fine. So now look what happens over here. It's giving me a warning saying they must be saving in macro enabled workbooks. You don't have to do that. Um, and so you click on OK to make sure that everything runs. Bring up the hello world over here, and it still works. Now, the reason I went with this method of keeping the XLSX, and I showed you that, is because you don't have to enable all macros when you give someone uh, a sheet, right? You can keep those two things separate, and then if they want to activate it, if they want to run the modules, then they can do that in a two-step process without messing with this, without messing with company policy. Don't worry about this. This is really advanced. This is when you start to change the code within code and then executing it. Okay, now coming down over here, uh, something I got reminded of about the macro security, and let's think one more time. If you're changing it, thinking. Oh, okay, that was a long one. Uh, Going back over here to keep it a little bit simpler. Once you have your macros, uh, then once you have your programming file, you don't have to go through this complicated interface. If everything is set up, go ahead and close this, and now you can bring up the macros windows, which makes it, and this has all your macros. You can Just click on it, go ahead and push run, and then there's your Hello World. There's other things that you might want to look at is looking at design mode, where you can add features like buttons into your Excel sheet and then link them to the Visual Basic code. I don't like the word macros. It makes it seem like a silly piece of code. Visual Basic can get complex. It's a great tool. It works. Try some things in Office and PowerPoint as well. That's it. So thank you very much.